If you've just bought the DJI Mini 5 Pro or you've got it on order, then in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about registering it, creating your DJI account, everything you need to know about the RC controller and all the features and your first flight with this little amazing drone. So let's get to it. Just to do some housekeeping before you go out and fly your drone, go online and register an account with DJI. All the links to these web pages will be in the description below. When you've done that, download the app. It's always useful to have, or if you've got the RC2 controller, you'll need it. And there's the link to the Apple Store or for Android. If you're in the UK, you'll need to go to the CEA website and just register as an operator and put the operator ID on your drone. I'll show you how to do that in a second. If you're in the States, do a similar thing, create an account with the FAA. To put your ID onto your drone, you can use a simple gadget like this that will just print out a little sticky label. In the UK, you can put them inside the battery compartment. Other countries ask you to put them on the outside so they're visible. And then always check your airspace where you're going to fly. You could use a website similar to this or one more relevant to the country you're in. Quickly show you some of the features here that you might not be too aware of. So these are your obstacle avoidance sensors here, and obviously they'll be underneath as well. And that's the auxiliary LED light that you can turn on, and you've got other sensors here, and you've got your infrared sensors here as well, which is your LiDAR that you have on here to help you in very low light. Quite good if end of day the sun's going down and you've done a sunset shot and you want to bring the drone in and the light's bad. That's good, but they're only front on, so if you're flying around in a circle in the dark, it will still hit objects, whereas if it's flying straight in to come into land, it can do that quite efficiently. We've got the new props that just clip on, you don't need the screwdrivers anymore. There's sort of a twist effect, so that's really useful there. To turn the drone on, same as the RC controller, you just push down once and then hold your finger down for a few seconds, then all the lights will fire up. We've got this button on the side here, which I believe is for quick transfer of files. Not really experimented with that. Pinch here to remove and replace the battery. This is where your SD card goes in there. This is where you can charge your drone or connect it to a computer. And you'll notice this has now got feet just underneath the gimbal, which is a new feature, so you get that bit of extra protection there. So I think that's quite nice as well. Now to fire up your RC controller, you just need to press the on button once and then hold it down for 4 seconds, and all the lights will light up and the screen will start up. Just to look at your screen here, I'm just going to take you through the main features. There are other things like the Academy, the DJI simulator, which with the simulator you can have a little play with. If you click into it, you'll just launch the DJI simulator, and you can do basic courses or the immersive flight mode. And with that you can go and fly around a skate park, and you can get used to using the controls and maneuvering the drone around. So it's a lot of fun, so I recommend having a little play with that. So when you are connected, you'll be able to see information about the fly zones, the recommended zones there, which I think before you go onto a site you should use an appropriate app to check whether you're able to fly there or whether it's a restricted flight zone. Here you can also view your album, and these are just cached images you're seeing on the RC controller. You'll need to download the actual images from the SD card on the drone. And quick transfer, you can click on that to transfer the files over to your mobile device if you're using a mobile device. Sky Pixel, that's another service that you can look at some point when you've got an internet connection, want to connect to the service center. And then Profile. Now Profile is the most relevant part on this main home screen. You'll see on the left hand side, that's where your DJI account is. If you haven't created one yet, go and create that and then link it here by just clicking on that and putting in your email and password. That will connect you, and then you'll see under more, that'll be where all your flights that you've done are recorded. And then just starting at the top, you've got device management. This is where you connect to your different drones. So if we're looking at Mini 5 Pro there, and you can remove the device from the account if you sell the drone, or this is where you would connect it, and it will give you your aircraft serial number if you need to register or log that. You've got your forum, the store, find my drone feature. If you've lost your drone in the woods, you can launch this and you can start it flashing and beeping, as you can see there, and connect to other maps you may have downloaded. Offline maps is where you can download maps and to use them if you haven't got an internet connection. And then settings is one of your more relevant places here. So you can see here firmware updates. So if you click that, and you can go check for firmware updates, and when you've got an internet connection, that will tell you whether there's any updates to do. When you first bought this drone, it will 99% need to do an update. So before you go out the night before, do your update, so you're not on site going, do I do it, do I not? It's important that they're up to date. You can check for the FlySafe database. They'll be doing regular updates as well, so I suggest you do that as well. Firmware auto download, you can just select that to on. A model auto update as well, I've got selected to on. And then sync flight data, you'll want to make sure that that is on. Auto sync flight records, flight record authorization, auto sync flight tasks. I suggest having that on, and then if you need to retrieve any data or you have a flyaway, there'll be a record of whatever's happened there. You can also connect to the air data software, and that's where all your flights and information will be logged as well. So if you want to take your drone flying further and want to pull all your records for any authorizations, you can do that. Or if you have a flyaway, they want to look deeper into what happened on that flight, all that information will be recorded there. Camera view, obviously on. Flight tips, you can have that on or off. Storage, if you look here, you can have using the internal storage if you haven't got an SD card. Otherwise, I suggest you select SD card. And then you've got RC internal storage, so it'll tell how full that is. And there's the cache in case you need to clear it. And then the RC takes a card as well, which you can just slot into here. And that's useful if you're doing screen recordings, which is what we're doing now when you're looking at the screen. Also, it's quite handy because it's the same size card obviously that goes in the drone, so that means you've got a backup on you, that if you fill up the card on the drone, you can just pull this one out and put it in there. So that's the main reason for having this card in here, is really for doing screen recordings. And then notification privacy about will just give you more information for checking for updates there, etc. But you'll need to be connected to the internet, which I will show you shortly. And then for the countries that still use the DJI Geo zones, that's where you can use this feature for unlocking them and then logging in and out. So let's just come out of that. And next we want to connect to the drone. So we'll click that. And then you can see on the controller, it's asking me to choose the drone I'm using. Because I connect more than one drone to the same controller, then it's asking me which drone I want. When you're doing this for the first time, you'll need to Bluetooth connect. You'll need to sync these two together. Every time I choose a different drone to connect that's already paired with this. It'll always ask for this firmware update, which actually it's just a little mini file, and takes a few seconds just to know it's that drone it's working with. Okay, so you can now see we're connected. So just to take you around the physical aspects of the RC controller. Now, they don't come with these screens, but I like it because I can leave the little sticks attached here, and I can close this lid and it's still protected, so I could walk along with the drone following me and still have it all active. So I kind of like this little accessory, but nevertheless you would have your sticks underneath where I've got this cover, and you just screw them on here. This will always start up in normal mode, which is in the center. So even if you have it on the C, which is cinematic mode, or sport, the sport mode, it will always actually launch in the normal mode, and you won't realize that it's setting that is in normal if you've got it in a different setting. So always keep it in normal mode when you launch, and then change it once you're in the air. So just quickly then going around this cinematic mode, normal and sport mode. Bear in mind in sport mode you don't have any obstacle avoidance. As you're here, you'll get this message.
Obstacle sensing unavailable. Fly with caution.
Okay. Cinematic mode means all the movements will be a lot smoother and slower and more cinematic. So it's a good way of starting. You're flying when you're not used to it and you want to dampen out all the movements. And you can customize all these settings, which we'll show you later. Normal mode is just normal speed, normal response on the controls. And sport mode is flat out high speed, but you don't have the sensors. So you might use it if you're really high up, you want to get back really fast to your home point, for example. Then I might put it into that mode, go back to your normal, and then land the drone, for example. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't use that. And then you've got this symbol here as an H and the two little dots for pause. And now, so if you're in automation or it's doing automatic come to home and you want to stop it because you can see it's coming near trees, for example, anything like that, just click that and it'll just pause the movement. When you do want to come bring the drone back in home, you can then just hold this button down and it will do return to home. So then looking round at the underneath of the drone, you've got a couple of screw points here where you can put any accessories. You've also got these points here where you can attach a lanyard, put it around your neck. And then you do have, pull this down, your antenna that you pull out here and just generally try and point it in the direction that the drone is. And then you've got your camera button for taking photos, your video button for taking videos, your dial, which standard is set to zoom. This dial is set to gimbal up and down. And then you have shortcut buttons here, C1 and C2, which are programmable, which I'll show you about how we program those later. This is just a tour, so I'm not going to give you all my top tips right now, apart from I set this to custom control, to cruise control, and I set that one to auto exposure. But that's for you to work out later, and there'll be other videos on that. So we then have here, this is where you charge. It's the micro C, mini C charging point, and then that's where your SD card fits in there. If you want to record audio into here, you need to put a microphone in here, and that's how you'll get audio into your RC controller. So when you're doing screen recordings, that's how you'll have your audio on your screen recording, and then you can sync it to your camera. So if you're doing any kind of creative work like that as a content creator, that's how we do that. You might be on holiday and you want to do voiceover onto your footage. This is how you can also do that. So now looking at the RC controller, if we swipe down twice, you get this menu here, and you can see you've got, if you're recording, you've got a mute mode, an airplane mode, a Bluetooth mode. So you might connect Bluetooth audio device recording, your Wi-Fi, if you want to connect to your Wi-Fi service. So at home I'd advise doing that, so you could do software updates. You just hold your finger down and it opens up your Wi-Fi preferences. Then the button below is how you do your screen recordings that you can see we're doing now, and then there you can take a screenshot as well. Then you've got the brightness of the screen, the audio. Over to the left hand side, you can look at the bottom, you can see you can explore your SD card, so that if you want to look for your screen recordings, for example, that's where you could view them there. And then this is where you do remote controller compass calibration, and there it's telling me I'm recording the screen. So then I can just flick up and that's gone. Round anti-clockwise and come back to the 3 dots. The first one you see here, that little satellite symbol, and it says number 25, 7, 26. That's how many satellites it's connected to at this moment in time. You want to be connected to technically 4 to get your altitude and your global positioning, but you kind of need about, I think, 12 or so to be able to go above, I think, 20 meters. It will just fly to a certain height and restrict you going any further till it's got a really good lock on there. The next symbol is showing red because the drone's not airborne, and that's just showing you that you can view out of the other sensors on the drone, which we'll look at in a minute. And then the next one is telling you the strength of the connection you have with the RC controller. And then following that, that's how many minutes of flight time you've got left. So you'll find when you get to something like 20% left, this will want to do return to home. So you can override that, but you'll get to a certain point where it will do an automatic like emergency landing. So we'll take over your control and it will land the drone. So if you're in the middle of somewhere where you don't want it just to land itself, make sure you get it home sooner. It's a safety override, so it doesn't drop out the sky. Time left to fly, you've got your percentage there. Mine's saying 86% at the moment. Takeoff permitted, so once it's got those locks, it'll tell you there that you're all good for takeoff. The next symbol there, you can see it says N mode. So that's relating to up here. If I put it on cinematic mode, you can see it's C mode up there. So it's just a visual little reminder there. The next button is your home button, so it takes you out of the screen back to that first home screen that we saw. Dropping down, we'll show you these in flight, but this top one on the left hand side shows you where you plan your waypoint missions there. Talk about that slightly when we're in the air. We will be doing deeper videos on this in the future. So this is where you can take off. You just hold your finger down on this and it will launch to, it actually says 1.2 meters. Another way to do that is to pull both levers diagonally to the center, and that will start the props. Do note, if you're in flight and you do the same thing, it will cut the props, so it'll drop out the sky. But it is an emergency feature if it's flying towards, let's say, a crowd of people and it's out of control. That's how you just immediately stop it, and it's better for it to fly out of, drop out the sky than to actually hit a group of people. When you're in the air, there'll be another symbol there turning on the automatic selection of people, bicycles, cars. And then the bottom left hand side, you can see it's the different view you've got. So you can click on it, that expands more of a map view. So when we're in the air, it'll show that. We come back out of that. And then you can see in the corners, you can press these. We're in compass mode, top left, turns your north-south mode, and we can minimize that. This is where you can see it's looking out of the different actual lenses for the sensors. So if you're flying close to something, you want to quite peek around you, you could use that. Then moving along the bottom, top there shows you the height that you're flying and the speed that you're flying at in meters per second, and then the distance you are from your home point and the meters per second you're flying away from your home point will show up there. Then we have our storage, how much storage we have left there, and you can see whether we're using the internal or the micro SD card. Now just coming along here, now because we're on video mode, that's showing my video settings there, and I can click on that and that'll expand the selection of frames per second and the resolution that I want to record in. Just coming along next to then is my EV, which is exposure value, and we can make it a plus or a minus to overexpose or underexpose what the drone automatically wants to do. And then we're in auto mode, but we can go pro mode, and so we can now have a different selection here, and we can decide whether we want to adjust the ISO, the shutter, the EV, and we can change our Kelvin, the temperature of the image, and all our different settings there. D-log, HLG or normal, color mode you can have there, or the color format, which I noticed on this drone is H.265, so it used to have H.264 as well, which they don't have now on that, so all the features will come up there. Then coming up, the button there just will show our photos and videos. We can then download, tick the box on the top right hand side, and then we can sort of start selecting ones we want to download. We can batch select there and download them all. And that's the option for quick transfer. The next big button obviously is your take a photo or record button if you didn't want to use these here. The button just above that is to open up whether you're in photo, video, you want to do master shots, quick shots, hyperlapse or pano mode. And when you click into any of those, they'll then bring up some other options. So in photo mode, we can have a single shot, and AEB is exposure bracketing, so it'll take photos at slightly different exposures, and you can make it take 3, 5 different photos, so then you can choose which one is the best exposure. Burst is taking multiple shots, so you can take 3, 5 burst of shots. So if you've got a fast moving object, you want to get the best shot of it, that's where I would do it there. And then timer, a time shot, you could say 7, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 60 seconds. That's if you want to set something up, maybe be in it yourself and you don't have the controller in your hand, tuck it under your shoulder. You can do that and then get into the shot. Dropping down to video, you could do normal or slow motion. Master shots, I guess the drone needs to be in the air to do that, so we'll show you when we're airborne. And then going down, we have quick shots. Again, we'll need to be in the air. Hyperlapse, we'll need to go through that in another detailed video on hyperlapse, because there's lots of options of how we set these up. Free mode, circle, course lock and waypoints. And you can see along the bottom here, you can make lots of fine adjustments to what the parameters are going to be around that, how many intervals you want it to take each shot, whether it's stationary taking them, whether the drone's moving along a course, or whether you're just flying it around but it's taking these interval shots, the length of the overall clip that you want it to be, and the speed the drone's going to be moving at. Dropping down again, we have pano mode, and again the pano mode will need to show you in the air. There we have autofocus or far distance focus. 1x is the standard lens, the wide angle 24mm lens that this will be using. If you come to the 2, it's the zoom lens there, which is the lossless lens. So it's not actually a second lens, but it does give you a mid-range telephoto, as you can see there. And there's some DJI magic wizardry going on that it's not just a digital crop, even though it's not a secondary lens. How it does that, I'm not sure anyone actually knows, but just the wizards at DJI. Above that, that symbol will put your camera into vertical mode. Because the whole lens is turning, it is a true vertical. So if you're at 4K, it's a true 4K vertical. And obviously very handy for social media to get high quality, and then you can do further editing on it there. So you just tap that and back it goes. Then we come into the 3 dots at the top. Now that's just started about the drone, the controller and the firmware, and actually you can check for updates in this section here as well. You've got your model version and your fly safe, and again you can check for updates right there, different serial numbers. Okay, transmission is something one normally just leaves totally as it is on the dual band. Now we've got camera format. Color mode, normal is just in normal color mode, so DJI is making all the adjustments to give you what it thinks is a lovely image. HLG will give you a very colorized type of footage, and then D-Log M will give you a flat color profile that you can do further editing. You get a higher dynamic range if you're using that setting, so that's quite good for more creative work. Or if you're in challenging environments, that's a good way to have more control because you're getting a bigger dynamic range, so it's not over baking in the blacks or the highlights, so it might look a bit flat, the image, but it means you've got the control to bring up the highlights and to bring down the blacks to get a better image. Now color display assist, if that's on, as you can see on my screen, the colors look nice. If I take that off, you'll see on my screen that's your very flat image that the drone is actually capturing. So in post-production you'll need to do the adjustments. Video subtitles, that just creates an extra text file that gives a lot more information about the flight of the drone. Because we don't necessarily normally need that extra file, I would say just keep that off. Anti-flicker, just leave to auto. If you really think you need a histogram, fine. Peaking levels, if you're keeping things in auto at first, there's probably no point having those peaking levels unless you're in pro mode and you're doing your own dialing in your own settings. Otherwise just leave that off. Peaking level is to show whether something is in focus or not, so whether it's got it'll usually show up as a little red highlight around it to show it's in full focus. Overexposure warning will give those zebra lines for things that are burned out. So again, if you're in pro mode, that's quite useful. And then you've got your grid lines, so we could have a cross through the screen. As you can see, there's little fine lines going diagonal. You could have your thirds lines there, vertically and horizontally. Or, as I've got it in at the moment, just a single point in the middle there. I like to keep that on because I can select an object and move the drone around it. It'll automatically point at that. But sometimes I want to do that manually, so I want to know there's a feature that's going to sit in the middle of my shot, and I manually fly around that feature so I can just keep an eye on where that is. And frame guide again shows you a frame around the image. White balance, I've just got to auto, so again you could make adjustments there. And then style, that relates to any sharpening it's doing. Here you see sharpening and noise reduction. I like to keep those at 0. If anything, I might put them at -1 because I don't really want DJI over processing my footage. You can experiment with that. And dropping down, this is where you would format your SD card. So you click that format button there, and then just confirm you want to format the card. You can change how your folders are named, clearing caches and allowing quick transfers. Just coming along the top now to your controls. You can decide whether you want metric or not, size of text. Gain and expo is, I think, one of the very interesting parts here. If you're in your, say, normal or cinematic modes, you can adjust what you want them to do, so you can fine tune them here. So let's say what I do is I keep my normal as normal, and in cine mode I might dampen everything out. The horizontal speed and ascent speed I might keep the same, maximum descent speed. You've got your angle of velocity. Your smoothness as it's turning, you might want to dampen that out, so you can just move those controls to do that. Brake sensitivity, I like it to always brake very fast, but sometimes you might want to be a bit more cinematic, so when you take the power off you want it to like slowly come to a stop so you don't get too jerkiness. For me, I'm more worried about hitting things, so when I want to stop, I want to stop. So then we come to expo, so this is more about control with the sticks, how smooth you want those to respond. So you can just dampen those out by lowering the numbers there. For the up down, your pitch and roll. And then your gimbal, you can change the speed that it moves, but also how smoothly it does it. And the same with the roll. So when you're doing the roll of the gimbal, how smooth you want that to be. Then if we come over to safety, as you can see at the top here, you've got bypass brake and off. If you've got it on off, then you've got no obstacle avoidance working. It's like being in sport mode. And if there's an object, it'll just hit it. So bypass, it'll just smoothly go around something. Brake, it'll just stop when it comes to that. Now we've got these different return to home options here, optimal or the preset. So I would say just keep it in the optimal, the way the drone comes from the factory. You can experiment. I haven't got any great advice on that. Return to home height, normally we'd set it around 100. Obviously the maximum you can fly these drones is at 120 meters, so keep it underneath that. And this is where you've got update home point here. I've not had much luck with update the home point on these, so if anyone does, please let me know. AR settings, so maximum altitude, you want to make sure that stays at 120 or slightly under 115, just to be on the safe side. And then max distance, you know, you might want to keep that down to 500 meters, for example. For our GVC, the legal limit was 500 meters. The reality with these mini drones, 120 meters away from you is, I would say, probably the maximum. You can actually visually see the drone. Of course, you have to fly within visual line of sight. So you might want to actually just lock it down to 120 meters. If I'm at the top of a mountain, 500 meters in clear air, I can probably see it okay. And this way you can calibrate your compass and your IMU, instrument measuring unit inside of the drone, which helps give accurate GPS location, and your compass, of course, so they should be calibrated from time to time. Now this is where unfold the arm to power on. You could set that to off if you didn't like that feature, and again when you fold it, it will power off. So that's the other area you'd do that. Here you can get your battery info. and you can see the health of the battery. Auxiliary LED is quite handy. You can put that to on, and then the light underneath will stay on during the flight. So sometimes that can be really helpful if you want to keep an eye on where your drone is, especially on commercial jobs. We always put that on so we can spot where the drone is much more easily. And then we've got unlock and find my drone. We already looked at those in advanced settings. So this is where, as we showed you, you can cut the propellers by using these features. So I just leave them as they are, and your vision positioning obstacle sensors are on. So of course we've got these nice new covers on them, the same as the Mavic 4 Pro. Pull away here, this can just then come off here, and that just releases, and then we can just open up the arms, and unless you've got it switched off, it will auto start. As you can see, the green lights are coming on there, so that's auto fired up. You can switch that on and off within the RC controller. Let's just get this drone in the air, and so we can show you some of those other features. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you've got no power lines, trees and things around you. I have some not too far away, so I need to just be aware of that.
Take off.
I'm just pushing the sticks up and forward. So you can see we're just using the wide angle lens. Now I'm just going to show you, if I push the 2, it's 2 times, and it just punches in, and it does this kind of smoother ease in, which is quite a nice feature there. You get that nice medium telephoto lens there. Now when you first launch, I always suggest you just test the drone out. So look to the right, look to the left, down, up. So you can just be sure that your drone is responding correctly. But now if we click onto the video symbol, we can now see the master shots. It'll give you a little example here of what all the different master shots look like. We'll just draw around a subject, and you can tell it the range. Let's just leave it on medium for the moment, and the movements will either be small, medium or large. And then we just click the start button.
3, 2, 1.
As you hear, you get the countdown, and then it will perform a series of movements. So I can see the drone just up here quite clearly, and you'll notice it's telling you what the different manoeuvres are. So it's saying it's a droney, so 1 of 8 moves. It's now doing a fast circle. And then it will just return back to its start point. You do have your quick shots. Rotate will be the gimbal rotation. You have your droney, rocket, circle, helix, boomerang, asteroid. Now those will show you in more detail on another video, but at least you can see here from the master shots what to expect. Hyperlapse we talked about, we'll come back to. Pano, the free pano, this means you'll point the drone in the direction you want it to look, and then you'll click your C1 button there, that'll lock that start point, and then you point your drone in a different direction, and that'll give you the end point. So for example, Let's do that now, shall we? Look, there's our start point. Here's our end point. It says 12 photos. Click start, and then you can see on the screen it's going to take all those photos and stitch that together. And then we get the sphere, which is one of my favorites. In fact, let's show you the sphere in a second, but there's the 180 wide angle and a vertical. So these all have merits and can be nice for different type of footage you want to get. Sphere, press start, and this is going to create a 360 image which we can scroll around on the screen or download it into our software and view that. But you can put these on Google Earth as well. There'll be a link in the description where I'll put that image, and then you can move around and see a whole 360 of the area. We'll go into video mode. Now if you look on the far left of the screen, you can see this was where the waypoints are if you want to do a waypoint mission. Then there is the square with the dot. Now if you click that on, you can see now cars and people will be highlighted. If you see anything there that you want to track, like this car, I can click on it. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Yep, it's found that. We can record that, and now that's going to keep tracking that car. If you click on the bottom, you can see we're in spotlight mode. Let's just put an X on that so we come out of that. Now in spotlight mode, it's like the camera's a tripod in the sky, so it will just, drone will stay where it is and it will just follow the object that you've selected. Alternatively, we can fly the drone around. So I'm moving to the right. So I'm moving and it's tracking the car. Now I'm going to ask it to track on the outside there, and I'm going to start walking. So let's make it follow from behind. And you'll see the drone start moving around me, getting in that position. Oh yeah. Now you can go slow or fast. So yeah, I just enjoy the view. And of course you will have got the ND filters as well as part of your package, and we'll cover that later in other videos, but next week we are doing a whole video on just ND filters, CPL filters, etc, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to see more videos on the Mini 5 Pro, there's a playlist over here, and please show me love, subscribe to the channel by clicking up here, and I'll look forward to seeing you over there.